And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses. Stop there. Miriam, this is family. This is the older sister of Moses. She is the one who was actually the one, she was a watchwoman when Moses was placed in the Nile River, when they were allowing the basket of Moses go. So she was changing Moses' diapers. It says, and Moses and Aaron spoke against Moses. Moses and Miriam spoke against what? Moses, their brother. This is an in-house. This is an in-house issue. They spoke against their brother. Who was their what? Their leader. He says against them what? Over a what? An Ethiopian what? In-law drama already. Over an Ethiopian woman he had married. So when you read it, I would always wonder, what is it about the Ethiopian woman? Yes, they were not allowed to marry non-Jewish. But the way that Moses and Aaron spoke against Moses was not, the main thing was not the fact that she was non-Jewish. It was the fact that she was black. So there were scholars say there were racial connotations to it. Because she's from Ethiopia. So there was those you see, those things, that's why you see that God was so not happy with them. So Moses has done something wrong, right? And then they says, because of the Ethiopian who he had married, he had married the Ethiopian woman. Right, let's go to the next verse. And they said, has the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Has he not also spoken also by us? You see, people can start questioning their leaders. Don't do that. Don't fight with your leaders. At work, at church, wherever you find yourself, don't fight with your leaders. You are not being humble. Doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. Do you get what I'm saying? If you see your leaders not doing well, there is a way. And you must have the relationship to be able to deal with those things. You must have the emotional intelligence to be able to deal with those things. And if you can't talk to them, don't talk about them. If you can't talk to them, don't what? Yeah, don't talk about them. You'd rather go, the Bible says, rather go and talk. Find a leader, find a way. So they say, they are talking about Moses, their brother. We see that there is familiarity. There is familiarity. So those are the things that you will find, bits and bobs of not being humble. Of being pride. You become familiar. You treat the things of God cheaply. You treat men of God cheaply. You can just say, Tate, what is he doing? What is he saying? You can just do whatever you do. I'm teaching you the truth. I have to have that duty of let's not be familiar with our leaders. I'm not saying be afraid of them. That's not what I'm saying. Don't be familiar with them. This situation, I can understand. I had a big brother of mine who was so familiar with me. He was very familiar with me in the things that he was doing. It's the Lord who actually told him that he does not know that he's doing this. He's not doing this to you, he's doing this to me. He did not know. He was doing it. Giving me all kinds of persecutions. I was supposed to come. When I came to South Africa, I knew I was for the gospel. When I got my thing at Wits, I knew it's for the gospel. This thing of law is just in whatever. I'm just here for the gospel because the Lord has worked for me. We sent this money to my brother. My dad sends this money to my brother. My brother eats that money for my school fees. I didn't even experience orientation. You know where people go to to Soweto tour and what? I couldn't because there was no fees. Someone had eaten my fees. You don't know. He just thinks, it's my young brother. We'll just deal. You are not knowing that you are stopping a man of God. There were people who needed to be delivered, people who needed to, because God has a mission. You don't know that. So, ate my money. I was so hurt. Didn't know what to do. It's only I had to find out that it was true. That's why I had to raise funds. The first 6 months, I had nothing to eat. Because all my pocket money, everything that I had, I was making sure that I need to pay this fees. I need to pay people who lended us money. But he didn't know. He was I was in first year. He was doing third year in law. That is the year everything stopped for him. And he kept on. After doing that, I told him, why did you do that? He had no remorse. Oh, you think you are better. You think you are this man of God. You are a fake man of God. He kept on doing all kinds of stuff. We had to be evicted in the place, in the apartment that we were staying. He was not paying rent. The deposit that was required, that was needed, he did not pay that deposit because it was the first month free. We paid deposit. And I'm thinking I had to be evicted. Imagine. I'm being sent. There are intercessions that are coming with me into a country. There's a covering. People are praying for me. You are trying to fight that anointing, that grace. You don't know. Did I know that what I'm saying? Didn't know. I'm just thinking, it's just life. Things are just happening. God not knowing that I've sent this person on a mission. That was his last year. He was excluded. He has not finished that degree. Where you fight, where you don't know what you are fighting. But I did, when that was happening, did I know? I didn't know. I just thought brotherly love. And I forgave him. And they said, is the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses, and he has not spoken also by us. And the Lord heard it. And now Moses was very meek above all the men which are on the face of the earth. This is Moses writing about himself because it's what God told him. If it was you, I can't write this. You are not being humble. Humility entails allowing what God is. If God says you are a superstar, my child, you write, I'm a superstar. If he says you are a winner, you say it. It's not you who will say it. It's not you who come up with a great idea. It's God. And there are so many things that he says in his word. We are not confident about saying that. He says he was a very meek above all the men which are on the face of the earth. Let's go to the next verse. And the Lord spoke certainly unto, he didn't even spoke to Moses and Aaron and unto me. And it says, come out you three unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they came the three out. These are brothers, siblings. So you have to be careful to not to be familiar with the man who's in an office. So, in the New Testament, it's not about the pastor. Amongst us, familiarity amongst the brethren. The man of God should also not be familiar with the congregation. The congregation should not be familiar with the man of God. That's how it works in the New Testament. He says, and the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud. The one that they'd been traveling with, that one they'd been traveling with? He says he came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood at the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and I'll speak into him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so. This is a different level. This is my servant, not your brother. This is my servant. It's not so. He's at a different level. Who is faithful in all what? You see, the people you are fighting with. Look at the resume. You see, when the world is fighting us, they don't know. Who's faithful in all my house? Faithful man. And he's the meekest man. Imagine, he's not a Mickey Mouse person. These are the type of things that he was doing. This is one of the things that it's understandable for him to be on a high horse. Where you're parting Red Seas. Where a pillar of cloud is walking with you. And you know, one amazing thing, you remember this is Numbers. It's not like Moses and Aaron, Miriam and Aaron had seen this. It was the first time someone clashing with Moses, and they were the first. There were people who were doing it, and some of them were swallowed by the ground. But if you see, it doesn't stop them. It doesn't stop them. They still kept on doing it. Even after this incident, when you read it in the following chapter, you will find people like Korah and Dathan. They do it again. They say the same thing. Who has made you Lord over us? Our people don't stop. People, you think if it happens with the people, they are ever learning. He says, my servant Moses is not so. Who is faithful in all my house? Let's go to the next verse. With him I speak mouth to what? Even apparently, not in dark speeches. Wow, I partake this grace. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Wherefore then were you not afraid? That was the issue with God. That this person, Moses, with these things that you see the things that happen, were you not afraid? I think that was the issue with God. That at least someone who's sane in their marbles, they must say, guys, I don't know what's happening, but the audacity to say, that, does the Lord not speak to us? To Moses. He says, were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? He says, let's go to the next verse. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against him, and he departed. You see that it was the Lord who was angry. Moses was not angry. He wasn't angry at all. Because Moses made himself of no reputation. He made himself of what? Yes. You will find, one thing that is profound about Moses is every time he was attacked, he would not respond. But every time they would attack the Lord, there he takes it to the next level. He would kill. He would do all kinds of things. If you look at him, every time they would try and go against God personally, he takes it personally. But when it comes to him, he would not do it. He would not do it. Because he made himself of what? Of no reputation. It says, and the cloud departed off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was what? Leprous. Let's go to the next verse. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, they always come back when they need issues. Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us. Who is he talking to? Moses. Talking to Moses. Lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, wherein we have sinned. Let's go to Moses. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when come out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord. Do you see meekness? They don't repay evil with evil. He cried unto the Lord. If it was some of us, I told you. Die by fire. I told you. That's why he was the meekest. It says, and Moses cried and says, Lord, heal her now. Oh God, I beseech thee. This is God who has made a judgment. But he had made himself of no reputation, and he was so meek because he related with people at that level. Every time if you read with his interactions of men, when they try to challenge, he would not try and give his resume. Do you know who I am? What am I saying? The moral of the story is there are spaces where you don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to defend yourself. God will defend for you. Accusations, whether false, whatever, just leave them. God will defend you. Because you have decided to make yourself of no reputation. Let's stand up on our feet.